Hello everyone, and welcome on board this live safari, and a very special welcome to 3 schools that are joining us: Glenwood, Mary K. Good and Point O' View elementary schools. It's wonderful to have you guys with us. Some of you have been on these live safaris before, some of you haven't. For those of you who haven't, please send through as many questions as you can. So your teacher's going to help by sending through your questions to us, and then we'll get back to you the best we can. My name is Scott, and I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera. It's an extremely hot afternoon here in South Africa. It's about 40 degrees Celsius, which is into the 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a little bit hot and sticky. It's 3:30 in the afternoon here, so we're in a different time zone to you guys in America. And there was 2 warthog, which are a type of African pig that were running off in this direction, and I try to keep up with them, but like most of the animals here, they are far quicker than us, so they've disappeared somewhere into the bushes, and I'm sure they have gone and looked for some shade where they can sleep, and that's where I think some of the animals are going to be spending their time now. Like I said, it's very, very hot, and if not in the shade, another good place to be would be in the water, or at least drinking some water. So I'm going to make my way to a waterhole and see if we don't get lucky with some animals coming down to quench their thirst. And you'll be glad to know it's not just me that you're stuck with this afternoon. There's 3 of us in total. The other 2 have headed into different areas to me. So we've split up. We've got a massive area that we can work through, and we need to split up to try and cover as much ground as we can. And I know Steve, who you're going to go and meet now, is planning to try and get to some lions a little bit later on. So hopefully he'll get there by the time you guys are still with us. Very good. Off to Steve.
Good afternoon, or good morning, boys and girls. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Welcome to Safari Live. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined on camera by Craig, who has just returned back to us from Kenya. So it's wonderful to have him with us. Please feel free to send your questions and comments through with your teacher, and let's see what we can do about that. Yes, Scott is correct. I am heading towards some lions, but it is very hot. It's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit right now. I stopped in the shade just quickly, just to have a little bit of a breather, because it's boiling. But we're going to go find the lions. But I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing something very similar to us and just lying very flat in the shade. So let's go. Let's see what we can find. It would be nice to see some lions for the school drive, I'm sure. They are one of the most awesome animals to see, but I can't promise they're going to be doing too much in this heat. Hello Mac Jam, you want to know why boy lions have a mane? Now it's almost like a pad around the head. There's 2 means for it. First of all, when lions fight, they hit each other on the mane, and it protects their face and their neck against fighting, because they've got very, very strong claws. And so if they didn't have that, they could hurt each other. And then another method is, if a male that is younger has got a very small mane, he sees a bigger male who's got a black mane, and when he sees the black mane, he goes, uh-oh, I'm scared of that guy. Just like when a young boy of 18, 19 has got a very small beard, and then he sees a big man with a big beard, he thinks, hang on, I'm not going to fight with that guy because he looks quite scary. So that is number 2 reason why they have the mane. And quite often lions can avoid fighting with other males purely by having a big mane, because the others will look at him and go, hang on, that guy is very big and very strong. But behind the mane, he might not actually be bigger than the one that they are looking at, or than the other lion. So those are 2 main reasons. Excuse the pun, main reasons. Mrs. Seabrook, you would like to know, is it really the lions that are king of the safari? We have got an Impala there, first of all, boys and girls, and I would say yes, the lions are definitely the apex predator out here. They are the number 1 predator. Because of their numbers, they are in prides, lots of them. They are big, they are strong, they are not afraid of anything. But because they eat meat, we will say they're the king of the safari. But the true king out here is, in fact, the African elephant, which I'm hoping to find for you. They are always up and active on days like this when it's hot. normally by some water, and we're going to a big dam where we'll hope to find some. So that is an impala, a male impala. He's busy sitting in the shade. Obviously, it is very hot outside, so the shade is very, very important for these animals. And in the savanna biome, we are in the savanna, which has got trees and grasses. And if it wasn't for the trees, there would be no shade, and we would not have the number of animals that we find out here. So, boys and girls, keep your questions coming through. We're going to go to another friend of mine who's just arrived back from leave, and from Kenya, Mr. Brent Smith. Let's go to him.
Well, hello children, how are you today? I hope you are having an absolutely splendid day. As Steve said, my name is Brent, and you're on your very own private game drive. Now, because I don't have any animals, I'm going to have to ask you a question. I want to know, what is the biggest mammal in the whole world? So give the answers to your teacher. Let me know if you know what the biggest mammal in the whole world is. So because it's really hot today, I think I'm going to look at some of the water holes to see if I can find some elephants, because elephants are very, very special animals, and they're one of the few animals that are active at this time of the day. Now, an elephant is dark and it's big, so you would think it wouldn't be able to work well in the sun when it's really hot. But elephants are very, very special. They've got their own air conditioners in their ears, and that enables them to be able to move around when the rest of the animals, like those impala over there, are very, 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 very still and not moving too much and trying to find a little bit of shade. There we go. You can see an impala hiding in the shade to the left. Oh, there we go. Or to the right, there's more I didn't see. So there we go. And isn't that lovely? Now, of course, on camera with me today is Sebastian, who's bringing you these beautiful pictures. Now, you can see that impala looks like she's eating, even though she's not picking up grass. And that's because she's a ruminant. And what that means is she's got 4 tummies, and she'll eat a lot of the food, and then she will bring it back up into her mouth and chew it till she gets all the goodness out of it before it goes out the smelly end. So there we go. So she doesn't have to eat all the time. She can store food in her tummy. And you can see how her ears are facing back. So she's actually listening to us. And she's decided we're not a threat. And you can see how she's flicking her ears like that is to try keep the biting flies off, which is a big pain for a lot of the animals at this time of the year. Okay, well, let's keep moving towards a waterhole and hopefully some elephants. And we have some answers. Oh. So well done to all of you. You've all given some really good answers. But I was being tricky. I was being naughty. And Mary Good, you are spot on. It is indeed the blue whale. So an African elephant is the largest land mammal, but the largest mammal in the world lives in the sea, because the sea can help deal with all the weight, and it is, of course, a blue whale. Now, giraffe, which was also mentioned, is the tallest land mammal. So you were almost there, but it was a trick question. I was being naughty. It is indeed the whale, or the blue whale to be precise. Oh, you're going to fly back and land? No, you're not. Oh dear. No, is it going to land? No, it's not going to land. It's a very pretty bird, but it has done a disappearing act. Okay, now it seems like Scott's also on the same sort of plan as me, checking the water holes to see if there are any elephants around. So let's go see if he's had any luck at Treehouse Waterhole.
Well, we haven't had any luck just yet, but we are at a waterhole, and even though there's no big animals here, and there's certainly no whales in here, there are quite a few birds around, and there's quite a few birds that like to live around the water. I'm glad you guys now know that Brent is a bit of a trickster, so you're going to be ready for him. These birds are called blacksmith lapwings, and they're called blacksmiths because blacksmiths are people who, back in the olden days when we were building spears and crafting tools and machinery out of metal, there, listen, chip, chip, chip. It sounds like the blacksmith, dink, 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 tinkering pieces of metal in his workshop. and I'm very happy that they called just on time for us, so you would have got to hear them. And they're just looking for little insects around the water's edge. So Julian, you would like to know which animal is the biggest. Maybe it was a little bit confusing with all of the chats earlier. Well, whales are the biggest mammal. We are mammals. All mammals are basically animals that have mammary glands, and mammary glands are things that provide us with milk when we are young. So even young whales will drink milk from their mothers. And isn't that interesting? But the biggest mammal that we get here in Africa is the elephants. It's by far the biggest. It weighs about 6 tons. Other animals that start coming close to it are then rhino and hippo. The giraffe is definitely the tallest, but not nearly as heavy as the elephants, hippo and rhino. Dizia, you would like to know Duzia, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. You'd like to know how big do elephants get? Well, let me jump out the vehicle here and give you an idea. Because I'm about 6 feet tall, and once upon a time, not too long ago, there was an elephant bull who actually came up and rested his tusks against the front of the car. And I hopped out like this to show people how much bigger he was than me. And he would have come to where I'm standing over here. So they stand at about 12 feet, sometimes even a little bit bigger, and they are 6 tons in weight. 6 tons is absolutely huge. If you think that your average adult man is around 100 kilograms, that means it would be 60 humans, 60 adult men would be required to make up the weight of one big elephant. And that's a lot of men standing together. So I hope that maybe gives you a good idea of how big they are. Very good. Now, like I said, we haven't had any luck just yet, but it gives you a good idea that we are not in a zoo. The animals have got huge areas which they can move around in, which makes our lives quite exciting because we have to actively search for them and try and track them by using their footprints or the sounds that they make to find them. So we've got a nice challenge here. If it was too easy to find the animals, there wouldn't be any fun in it. Zoe, you would like to know if hippos have got tails. And yes, they do have tails. They've got quite short tails. I mean, for such a big animal, their tail's very short, quite wide, and they actually do something quite interesting with it. Again, I'm going to have to show you what they do. This is going to make you laugh. So hippos, they walk around on all fours like this, and their little tail is very small, like that. And when they poop, what they do is they swivel their tail like this, and it sends the poo flying in all directions. And there's poo that just goes everywhere. And the reason they like to spray their poo all over the show is because it helps leave a message for other animals. Lots of animals use either their poo or their pee to leave important messages, like I say, in the bushes, on the ground, for other animals that come past afterwards. So that's why hippos do that. And what I'll do is when I'm driving around, I'm going to try and find an area where a hippo has done that. Maybe Steve actually might be able to find some close to where he's going, because there's some hippos that live in the waterhole there. And you'll just see their poop flung in all directions. So, yes, they do have tails, and they use them for something quite interesting, Zoe. Very good. Okay. Oh, there's a very pretty bird that's just landed on the water's edge there, Sens. If we go to the left where that go-away bird was a little bit earlier. There we go. Now, it's very small, but it's got a beautiful blue coloration. There we go. That's a blue waxbill, and it looks like a golden-breasted or possibly a cinnamon-breasted bunting is the other bird that's come down and landed on the water's edge. And it's not just the big animals that we look for. There's lots of small animals that are equally interesting, equally beautiful, and that's very important when on safari, not just to look for the lions, but to look for all the little bits and pieces that may come across us as we go. Wonderful stuff. Well, we're going to continue on from here, go and check another area and see if we don't get lucky. And while we do that, we're going to send you back to Brent, the trickster. Make sure he doesn't catch you out again.
Oh, I think I've got another question for you guys, and I am feeling tricky today. So, we just had a discussion about what was the biggest animal or mammal in the world. Now, what is the biggest reptile in the world? What is the biggest reptile in the world? I think that one's that's an extra tricky one, so I'll be really impressed if you guys get that right. So what I've done now, oh look how pretty that is. So I'm heading down towards some more water holes, but before we get there, there's a very beautiful bird. Oh dear, he's flying off. Anyway, Sebastian's following him. Hopefully he's going to land. Now, off he's gone. You can get him? Let's have a look. We can get a bit closer. So he was doing something very interesting because it was very hot. And I'm going to explain what he was doing in a second when we can get a view of him. It's called a Burchell's starling. And they've got very, very pretty, very shiny feathers. Now, is he still doing it? He's in the shade a bit now, so he's not going to be as shiny, but it looks like he's still doing that very interesting thing. Let's go to the one to the right a bit. There we go. There we go. Now, of course, he's still doing it a little bit, and he's opening his wings. So what happens is when you see a bird when it's very hot like that, you see how he's keeping his wings just off his body? Now that's because his veins and his blood vessels are very close, up he goes, to his skin there. So there's a little bit of a breeze. So if he opens his wings like that, the wind going underneath will help cool them down. And when he was sitting out in the sun, he was doing another very interesting thing. It almost looked like he was almost choking on air, so he was swallowing air very quickly, and that's called a gula flutter, and birds do that to help them cool down. Now hi Calvin, how are you doing? Calvin wanted to know, how do we find the animals? Well, Calvin, there's lots of different ways to find the animals. One of the most important ways to find the animals is to use your ears. So you can hear an elephant breaking branches or trumpeting when an impala or another antelope sees a lion or a leopard. They'll go poof, poof, or bah. So they'll make a noise, they'll alarm call to tell all the other animals they're around. Another way we find them is to track. When we find tracks, it means we find their footprints on a road or on an animal path, and then we will try to follow those footprints till we find the animals. And of course, the most common way is we just use our eyes, so we spot them hiding in the bush. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, so I just asked you what is the largest reptile in the world, and Glenwood just wants a little bit of explanation to what a reptile is. Now, a reptile is what we would call a cold-blooded animal, which is sort of a not proper term anymore, but it means that they need to sort of sit in the sun to warm up. So reptile, lizards, snakes, legavans, which are also a big lizard, crocodiles, alligators are all reptiles. So those are what reptiles are. Okay. Well, who knows? We might get lucky and see a snake. That would be fun. I love seeing snakes. And we get some very big snakes here. The biggest snake we get here is the African rock python, and they can get to 18 foot, 17 to 18 foot. Hello, Mrs. Fulvey. Mrs. Fulvey would like to know, do any animals have twins? Yes, quite a few different species will have twins. It is quite rare, though. So probably one of the rarest twins you can get is elephant twins. That happens very, very seldom. But Impala can have twins. And if you want to be pedantic, you could almost say that lions and leopards almost always have twins because they're always from the same litter. So yes, lots of animals do have twins, but outside of the predators, it's very uncommon for them to have twins. Oh, we have an answer coming in. Oh! Mary K. Good and Glenwood said an alligator. You're on the right track, but you're not quite there yet. So I'm going to give you another chance to tell me what the biggest reptile in the world is. Now, if I think about it, the biggest reptile in America is most certainly an alligator. Or does an American crocodile get bigger than an alligator? There's a clue. Okay. Now, when you go through little spots like this, there's lots of shade. It's cool. We might find something hiding. Hello. Ali's wondering, do we have eagles? Yes, we do. We've got quite a few different species of eagles. Hopefully we'll be able to find one. Now, this is always a good spot to look for animals like leopards. They like to sleep in these little riverbeds where it's nice and cool. They can lie on the cool sand. And also, if any animals come wandering up towards them, it's a good spot for them to hunt. They can sneak up and catch them. We should have some water. Now, I haven't been on Djuma for about 11 months, so I'm still finding out where all the water is. So I'm hoping there's still some water in Pan. Now, Pan is quite an interesting spot because it is a seasonal pan. There is water here, but there are no elephants. Why, elephants? Why? Well, let's go have a closer look. Well done, Mary K. Good Elementary. You are spot on. It is the crocodile, which is the largest reptile in the world, but it is the Australian, well, it's got quite a few different names. Oh, let's have a quick look at that. Oh, they're flying away. But there's an Impala sitting in the shade. Oh, off he gallops. But the crocodile, but specifically, it's got a few names. They call it a saltwater crocodile. It's called Crocodilus porosus. I think it's also called the Indo-Pacific crocodile. It is a crocodile. Let me park in the shade. It's very hot while we have a chat. And then we're going to talk about this pan. So, it's a crocodile that can go into salt water, and they actually go all over the islands in the Indo-Pacific, and they can be very, very dangerous. Oh, Sebastian, there's a very pretty bird. I'm just going to wait for it to pop up. Now, I'm going to see if I can trick the bird into popping up a little bit. So we make a funny little noise. Psst, 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 psst. I'm speaking the wrong language. Let me try a different one. Psh, 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 psh. There we go. Psh, 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 psh. Okay. Oh, it's hiding from us, but there's a little wax ball. I'll keep an eye on it. So that crocodile can go into salt water, and that is actually one of the major differences between alligators and crocodiles. So alligators will sometimes go into brackish water, like the Florida Everglades, but they cannot spend long periods of time in salt water, whereas a crocodile can. It is able to process the salt through its skin and expel it in a good way that doesn't hurt them, whereas if an alligator stayed too long in salt water, it would actually die from salt. Oh, there's a reptile swimming in the water. It's not a crocodile, but it is one of our bigger reptiles. That is a monitor lizard. And there we go. Whoop, it's popped under the water. So we got two different types of monitor lizards. There we go, the water monitor, that will swim and hunt for frogs and fish in the water, and then we have the rock monitor, who hunts for baby birds and stuff and lives in trees. That's not a particularly big one. They can get to about 4 or 5 feet in length. This one's probably only about 2 or 3 feet, hiding in the water. I'm quite jealous. It's quite hot. I might want to go for a swim. Okay, so no elephants at this waterhole, so we're going to move along towards the next waterhole, and while we do that, let us go see how my good friend, the bearded wonder, Scott Dyson, is doing.
We are doing well, and well done to you and Brent for spotting that monitor lizard in the water. They are very cool animals and quite appropriate, seeing as though you were talking about some of their bigger cousins, the crocodiles and the alligators. Now, you'll notice there's something quite strange happening here. This bird is catching a ride on the impala's back. But you'll notice it's very busy. It's working. And it's combing its beak through the fur of the impala, looking for any parasites or ticks, which are blood-sucking arachnids. Arachnids are a family that spiders and 8-legged animals live in, ticks being one of them, and they like to suck the blood from the impala. So that bird, the oxpecker, is doing a wonderful job in making sure that the animals in this area don't have too many parasites. Now, Braden, you would like to know, how do you tell whether it's a girl or a boy impala? Well, there's a few ways of doing it. You can look between their back legs, which is one way, and you can see something dangling there, not just the tail. So that's one indication that it's a boy. And there is another indication that it's a boy because it's got horns. Now, a lot of the antelope in Africa, not all of them, but a lot of them, just the men will have horns, and not necessarily the females. That's definitely the case with this antelope called an impala. It's a very common antelope here in Africa. But then you do get others like buffalo and wildebeest and some of the gazelles where both male and female will have. And then usually how it works is that the male's horns will be considerably larger than the female's. So some species it's easy, some species it's a little bit more confusing. But there's a number of ways of going about telling male or female. And you'll notice they're all just relaxing in the shade, still very hot. And what's quite interesting is that they are chewing permanently, but they're not actually taking any mouthfuls of grass. Yet they keep chewing on something, and they don't have chewing gum, that's for certain. And what they're actually doing is they're regurgitating food that they've already bitten off and swallowed into their stomach, and then they send it back up to their mouth so that they can chew it more. And my mother still tells me I don't chew my food enough, which is true. I just swallow it down quickly. But it really does help. Oh, there, it's swallowed. Now watch closely. You'll see something traveling back up its throat. If we keep watching closely, we may even see the next ball of cud come from the stomach all the way up the throat back into his mouth. And then he'll continue chewing, but it can be difficult to see. Oh, no. Now you're making me look bad, because now he is having a nibble on something. But just like cows, a lot of the herbivores out here have got 4 stomachs, not just one like us, and they re-chew the food many, many times to make sure that it is completely broken down and that nothing goes to waste. So that's what they were doing there. Now, Mrs. Clark, you would like to know what is the biggest and the smallest bird that we get out here. Well, the biggest bird that we can see, we don't see them often, but they do pop in to visit us occasionally, is the ostrich. And it can't fly, but it is a bird, and it is the biggest. And the smallest bird would probably be in the tit family. There's a family of birds called the tits. I think the grey penduline tit is one of the smallest birds that we get here. But we get a number of small birds that are kind of all in the similar tiny brackets, and those will be similar to the little blue waxbill that we saw earlier at the Waterhole. So from this big to a giraffe, which would be, not a giraffe, a giraffe bird, also known as an ostrich, which is a very, very big bird. It'll certainly be taller than me. Obviously long, skinny legs and a long, skinny neck with quite a big, roundish body. Wonderful stuff. Well, I can't remember which one of you sent through the question, but I did share a question about bald eagles. And that was Peyton. And we don't actually have bald eagles here, but we've got our own African cousin, or one that looks very similar and also acts quite similar to the bald eagle that you get in America, and that's called an African fish eagle. So what I can do is, let me just go up a little bit ahead here. Don't worry, I'm not phoning anyone. I'm trying to get my bird book, which I've got on my phone, to show you a picture of the African fish eagle, because you'll agree that it looks quite similar to the bald eagle. Okay, so there we go. That is the African fish eagle. Not exactly the same, but kind of similar. I think you guys will agree. Here's a few different angles, different pictures. Ooh, there's a nice flying picture. And just like the bald eagle likes to eat fish, the African fish eagle likes to eat fish. But like most predatory animals, you can't be too fussy because it's difficult to catch food out here, and therefore if you're fussy, you'll starve. So even fish eagles like to eat fish. They'll sometimes eat flamingos or other animals when they do get hungry. Billy, you would like to know why some of the birds that we saw earlier have long legs. And, you know, all the different birds and all the different animals have got their own specific job here in nature. So for all of them to look the same, it would mean it would be difficult for them to do different jobs. And it's just the same for us as humans. If you think of maybe a football team, you've got all different shapes and sized people in the football team. Some have got long legs, some have got short legs, some have got big bellies, some have got six packs. And they've each got their own different job to do within the football team. And I think it's similar with the animals here. They're all different shapes and sizes because they all have different things to do. They've got different food that they need to eat. Some hunt insects that fly, some hunt insects that live in the water. And obviously the water birds having long legs, it helps them not get their feathers wet when they're wading through the shallows looking for food. So I hope that kind of helps give you a reason. Of course, only the nature will know exactly designed all of the animals she did. Okay, well, our signal's a bit shaky. This is a live safari after all, so we'll send you off to Steve.
Thank you very much, boys and girls. We are in the area where we had the lions this morning. It is still very hot, and the tree they were sitting under, the shade has obviously moved because, as you know, the sun moves through the day. And there's also some activity of elephants right there where the lions were lying down. So we've done a little bit of a loop around the block to see if we can find where maybe they've come in or come out. Madison would like to know how long a lion can live for. And lions can live for, in the wild, males probably about 10 to 12 years and females between 12 and 15 years in normal conditions. But that is also dependent. Sometimes they're not very strong and they might get caught in conflict with other lions. They might get killed as well by other lions. They might get killed by hyena. So these things do happen. Or they might get injured by a buffalo or a giraffe. Mrs. Fulvey, you would like to know why there are not a lot of plants in the safari. There are loads of plants, and we often do spend a lot of time trying to show plants, but quite often we notice that the young boys and girls are very interested to see things like the African lion and the elephant. But if you'd like some plants, I can do some plants. But right now, we are right where... Oh, elephant is swimming. I'm going to go there. That is way more fun than tracking lions. We'll come back to these lions now. Now, elephants swimming, boys and girls. This is probably one of the funnest things to watch in the African bush. Hold on to your horses. Buckle up your seatbelt. We are just going to go quickly through this little depression. A very big dam on the right-hand side here. There's some more elephants about to come out in front of the vehicle. There's one. Let's see how it behaves. Oh, hello. Hello, elephants. Oh, magical. It's okay, Mama. It's okay. We're all good. We're all relaxed. This is so special to see elephants swimming. How's that, Craig? Mrs. Seabrook, elephants are the smartest animal we find out here. They are very intelligent. They show human behavior. They show that they can learn. They have all sorts of things that they do that you can almost imagine your brother or your friend behaving in certain ways. I mean, for example, there's no other animal that I know of that plays in the water like elephants or humans. Dolphins play, but this is on land. Elephants play purely for cooling down, but for fun. Sometimes they do it just for fun. And there's a lot of intelligence. They're doing some practice jumping. and they are very, very intelligent. They learn people. They know they know each individual elephant. Calvin, you'd like to know how elephants spit out water. Well, how they drink is with their trunk. Their trunk is a very long nose, and they actually suck the water up into the trunk like a big straw, and then they lift their head back and they pour the water into their mouth. And that is how they drink. So how they spit it out of their mouth would just be to spit it out, I would say. But the trunk can suck it up, and then they squirt it into their mouth like a big hose pipe. This is fantastic. It's always fun watching elephants swimming. I've only seen it a couple times in my life. Noah, what an interesting name, Noah. Elephants in the African wilderness can live up to about 55, 60 years of age down here in the Kruger National Park because they feed on a lot of sticks and bark and branches. So it wears down their teeth. So they don't have the benefit of a dentist like we do who can fix our teeth when we get old. So it actually causes them to starve, and that is what kills them eventually. But up in Kenya, where they feed almost completely on grass, they can live up to about 65 years of age because of the same story. Their teeth still wear down after time, but it's not as hard on the teeth when they just eat grass versus bark and sticks and tree stumps. I am very jealous right now. I wish I could go and join those elephants. That looks like a marvelous amount of fun. Mrs. Seabrook's class would like to know how many babies an elephant can have, and generally they have one. Twins have been recorded. I've never seen it, but I've heard about it, but normally just one. And that baby is born after a gestation period, so they spend 22 months pregnant, 22 months, and then they give birth to a baby that weighs about 210, 220 pounds. We actually saw one this morning. It was very cute. Probably one of the cutest things you'll see out in the African wilderness, apart from a leopard or a lion cub. Aren't they marvelous? They are having so much fun. They swim so well. They just stick their snorkel above the water and they can go for long distance, across rivers, across dams, no problem at all. They've got very large lungs, and the way the lungs are positioned inside their body chamber helps to support them in the water. So they actually can float a little bit, which gives them some nice buoyancy inside. Okay, well, we're going to go from our magnificent swimming elephants all the way down to Chitwa Dam with Brent, who has some swimming elephants of his own.
Look at that! Isn't he having fun? I'm jealous. I want to be in the pool. So that's a young male elephant, the one at the back, who's going right down, lying on his side. And now it looks like his little sister is going to come, or cousin is going to come play with him. But elephants at this time of the day love a good romp around in the water. Peyton would like to know, how do elephants swim? Well, they can swim in water that they can't touch the bottom of, but they rely on the buoyancy of being such big animals. And of course, they've got their very own snorkel. So they can go into very deep water and they just pop their trunk up to breathe. But they can swim over very deep water, but they're not the most graceful swimmers. Now, you'll see just behind them are some hippos as well. Now, believe it or not, hippos can't swim at all. They run along the bottom, even though they live in the water. Isn't that amazing? Oh, there we go. Look at the Ellies. They're going to, there we go, playing. Hello, Kylie. Kylie would like to know, how many elephants are normally in a herd? Well, Kylie, it all depends. It's normally related females, their offspring. So your average family group of elephants in a herd is probably around 7 to 10. And this one's a bit smaller. You can get some that are a bit bigger. But often when you see big groups of elephants, when you've got 50 or 60 elephants together. It'll be a bunch of different groups that can be related, that are coming together to have a chat. Oh, look at this. She's coming closer to us, coming to give us an investigation. Hello, girl. Now, it's very important to read elephant body language because they are very strong animals. So I think she's just a little bit curious. Now, you want to watch. Here we go. She might shake her head at us as she comes past. Hello, big girl. Hello, Jessie. Jessie would like to know how big are elephants' ears. And we said those are their very special air conditioning systems. And they pump a lot of blood into their ears. And they can have about just under 2 gallons of blood in their ears. And a female like that one who's walking past us, her ear is probably about 60 to 70 centimeters wide and about 70 to 80 centimeters long. And as I said, they can have just under 2 gallons of blood in their ears. Look at that. He's going right under the water. There we go. He's got his snorkel up. Here comes another little boy. Now, of course, there are crocodiles. Oh, just come here quickly, Seb.
Yeah.
Oh, let's just see. We're waiting. There's Impala that were jumping off the damn wall here. Let's see if they do it again.
Over there.
They were running across and jumping. Let's see how they're going to do it again. Lots of Impala. Well, while we wait for those Impala to move, Ethan is wondering how much food can an elephant eat in a day. Well, a big male elephant that can weigh up to about 6,500 kilograms, 6.5 tons, that's bigger than most cars, can eat up to about 200 kgs, which is about 440 pounds in one day. And they can drink 100 liters of water. That is amazing. Hey, big boy. So elephants are about that age. He's just over 20, I would guess. He's sort of 22, somewhere around there. Are some of my favorite elephants because they're quite playful and they often come very close to us when we're on game drive. And there you can see what I say. They're very playful, the young boys that are about that age. He might even go chase the hippos. That's what it looks like he's doing. He's going to cause trouble with the hippos. Watch out, hippos. There we go. He's going to try to be a submarine elephant. Well, let's get a little bit closer and a bit higher above him. But he is going straight for those hippos. See, that's why I say, that's why I love elephant boys of this age. They get very naughty. And he's being a bit of a bully. There, you can see that Mrs. Seabrook's class was wondering why aren't hippos afraid of elephants? They are. Look at him. And you can see just behind, he's chasing all the hippos. All the hippos have had to run off their nice spot where they were nice and comfortable. And he's just being a big bully. Now, the elephants, and you see all the Impala running past the front of us, they also don't want him to chase them. Elephants will chase whatever they can when they want. Look at him, he's being such a silly. Oh, what a wonderful sighting. Now, we must always be careful when Impala run like this. There's often leopard around this area, so I'm just making sure that they aren't going to run into the jaws. Oh, there's a little jump. Whoa, big jump. Isn't this amazing? Oh, off they go. This is amazing. Big herd of Impala, and that's only half of them. Oh, the elephants after the hippos again. Chasing the hippos. Run, hippos, run. Oh, and here comes the rest of the Impala herd. Tandy would like to know, what type of food do elephants eat? Well, at this time of the year, this is our summer, which is obviously your winter, and you can see it's lovely and green all around. Here come the Impala. Elephants, well, 80% of their diet will consist of grass and only 20% of trees and bushes. But when we get into our winter, which is our dry season, the elephants switch their diet. So 80% of what they eat will be trees and bushes, and only 10%. Oh, listen to the hippos. Hippo is complaining about the elephant chasing them off their sandbank. Oh, boom. Completely gone. Oh, sorry, Seb. I was not watching my monitor.
Where is he?
There he is. He was completely under the water. Look, he's after the hippo. There's a hippo just in front of him. Oh, he's nearly got him. He nearly got that hippo. That was close, Hippo. Mrs. Seabrook's class is wondering, when do elephants start growing their tusks? So they have little baby tusks for the first year of their life, and then at about a year old, their tusks start growing. He's trying to find that hippo under the water again. He's being a very naughty elephant. He's going straight up. There's a whole bunch of hippo just in front of him. They've just popped under the water, and you can see there's the magnificent and wonderful Chitwa private game reserves lodge behind. I think that might even be my little brother on the deck. Oh, look at him, he's having the best time. It is, I think, my little brother. So my little brother is also a safari guide who works at Chitwa. But we're going to say goodbye to everyone from the schools, and hopefully we'll see you on your very own safari soon. So have fun. But quickly, we're going to go back to the elephant chasing hippos. Oh, he's nearly caught one. Oh, run, hippos. And here we go, out onto the island. Let's see if he delves back into the water. And we've still constantly got impala. I mean, this is a massive herd of impala. There must be close to 150 of them in total. Djum! The stragglers coming through now. Yeah, let's just move a little bit further down the dam wall to see if that elephant dives back into the water to chase hippos on the other side of the island. Don't be silly, impalalas. Okay, well, I get into a spot to see if we can get another good view of the elephant. Let's go across to the bearded wonder, Scott Dyson.
Well, we've got quite an interesting scene unfolding here, and it's quite a sad scene, to be honest. You can see an Impala over there, not very clearly, and we've just arrived onto the scene where Tandy, a female leopard, had a baby Impala killed this morning, and clearly this mother has come back in the hope that she can reclaim her kid, but it's far too late, sadly. And there she's barking. She can obviously see Tandy, or just knows something's up over there. Really, really sad stuff. And you wonder how long she's been here, coming back and doing, I guess, whatever she can as a mother for her youngster. Shame. It must be said, though, that even though this Impala is in a predicament at the moment, Tandy could find herself in the same predicaments. You know, her youngster still has a long way to go before it reaches adulthood, and I'm sure on many occasions Tandy's also lost her youngsters. I'm just going to reposition. We stopped the vehicle as soon as we saw what was going on. Let's try and just move forward a little bit so we can get a view of her face and possibly of what she's looking at. I don't think we're going to be able to see what she is looking at. I think I just need to... That's better. Because the grass is very long, and even when we were much closer to where Tandy had the kill this morning, we could hardly see her. Just to give you an idea where the kill is, if Senzo just zooms out a bit, I'll be able to kind of try and point to you. It's just further to the left, in the base of that kind of thicket of trees over there. So just at the base of, at the tip of my torch there, is where we last left Tandy and the kill. The kill was nestled in the kind of base of those stumps. And I'm not sure if that Tandy's head on the right there. There's a little dark shadow that I can see. I'm wondering if that's not Tandy's head. Yeah, you spot on there, Sens, but no, I was confused by a bush. So no immediate sign of her. I wonder if Tandy wouldn't try and catch an adult female Inyala. It's quite a big antelope, but certainly not impossible for her to try and catch. Oh, there she's barking again. Cal, you've hit the nail on the head, you know. Of course, this is a very sad scene to witness, but the death of one young animal is allowing the growth and life of another, so it is the kind of way of the wild. I'm surprised at how much closer she's getting to where the leopards, I'm guessing, are lying down in the shade. Incredible stuff. Let me just try creep forward again and see if we can't get a two-shot of exactly what this Inyala's looking at, but no, she's decided that enough's enough. So maybe we should just stay put. She doesn't want to give up though. She's still looking very, very intently in that direction, still barking away. Bow, bow. Paula, you would like to know if Tandy's cub was actually seen this morning. And yes, it was. We got a few brief glimpses of it in the last few minutes of the drive, so it is alive and well. We didn't have the best views of it, but we certainly did get to see it. The grass here is just so long that it made it quite tricky going. And Tandy was also not in the best mood with us, probably attributed to the fact that kind of where I'm parked now, actually exactly where I'm parked now, there's a small game trail, and it runs down to the right over here, and there you can see that sandy patch. And she had initially taken that game trail off the road where we had her tracks heading in this general direction, so I just hopped out to make sure she wasn't traveling down this path and then another little pathway that runs up to the front of the vehicle here. And when I realized there was no tracks here, it indicated, well, that they must have gone more to the left, and as we drove in that direction, there she was. So she had seen me walking around here, and I guess that made her a little bit uneasy. That was really interesting. As soon as the wind started blowing like that, then Inyala decided, oh, it's time to get it out of here, and she just ran off. And she knows full well that when the wind's blowing like that, she's going to really battle to hear any sounds of a leopard trying to sneak up on it. So that strong breeze that just came through certainly did unnerve her quite a lot. I'm wondering if she's going to come back. I'm guessing she could well. First Lady, you'd like to know if Inyala, and I'm guessing other antelope, not just Inyala specific, get emotional when they lose a youngster. I mean, we don't see them crying, which is obviously a kind of natural human emotion. That's a very sure indicator of one's feelings, usually sadness, sometimes tears of joy as well. But no, I get the feeling that, of course, they know that they've lost something, and their maternal instinct and drive to raise that youngster, they're going to feel possibly, disappointed with themselves, but you don't see any emotions, and I wonder, how long they will be affected by the loss of a youngster. I saw Thandi's mother, a leopardess called Kruger, doing the exact same thing that we're seeing this Inyala doing. And I spoke about that this morning, I think. She lost one of her cubs to a hyena, and 24 hours later she was back in that same spot, calling away, hoping, just like this Inyala, that she could somehow bring the youngster back to life. And just like this Inyala, I'm sure the Inyala knows full well that her youngster's dead, yet she's still trying. So difficult for me to comment though on the amount of emotions they feel and how sad they feel and how long they do feel sad for. It'll be interesting to hear Steve and Brent's thoughts on this. Joy, in Hong Kong, you've reminded us of a happy story, which I think has come at an opportune moment, so thank you, Joy. And that is of a antelope called the Thompson's gazelle, whose youngster had been caught by a jackal, a black-backed jackal, had gripped onto this tiny little baby fawn and was biting it and chewing it. And this mother came in, and she was not taking no for an answer. She just gave this jackal such a hard time that she managed to chase the jackal away for hundreds of meters, and her youngster managed to run off to safety relatively unaffected. I mean, it definitely survived. It may have had a sore neck from being bitten by the jackal, but it definitely ran off 100%, and I guess that's a good success story of how sometimes the prey animals can succeed in chasing the predators away from them. Okie dokie. Well, we're going to try and get a little bit closer to the base of this tree where we left the leopards and their little kill, and we'll be sure to call you when we get back into that spot. But for now, we're going to send you across to Steve, who sounds like he needs some help finding the lions.
Thanks for that. Yes, thanks, Scotty. The lions have moved off, but what has happened is that there was a whole lot of elephant tracks all over where the lions were lying, and because the lions have been in this exact area for the last 2 to 3 days, I've gone up and down, up and down, up and down, and I think I've found their tracks going back over towards the northern side. So we're going to go back around again and see if we can find them. And we just had these ellies doing their thing in the water again. Here he is. He's nice and wet. He's trumpeting. We've ruined his pool party, it seems. Poor fella. They were having an absolute ball. And now it's time to go back and feed. So let's keep going. I mean, the way that the tracks appeared to be, elephants came into this scene where the lions were, chased them. The lions went in all sort of different directions. And then they kind of started regrouping just on that side of the dam. So we'll go around again, see if we get any of their tracks coming out. Otherwise, we'll just venture in there again and see if we can find them. Lovely, wonderful for the afternoon. Elephants in the water, the possibility of finding these lions that weren't, I didn't think we're going to move very far, but when you have a herd of elephants on your tail, it's amazing how far you will move. We saw them yesterday, 2 of the youngsters just on the other side of the dam, and one bull came down to the water and they ran even though they were on the other side of the dam. So now the elephants came right into the scene where the lions were sitting, and it also made it quite difficult to see which direction those tracks were going. But we will go. Craig is very excited because he says it's so nice to be able to track again, because up in Namara you don't really do much tracking. It's just sort of you drive around and you look from a distance and there you see what you're looking for. So there's definitely more to it here. You've got to really work to find your animals, and there are tons of elephant tracks leaving the dam. Hello, Caitlin. You'd like to know if a female hippo would challenge an elephant to look after its baby. Well, it's possible. It's possible because, I mean, you know, mothers will do anything for their babies, but I don't think a hippo's got a chance. I mean, a female hippo maybe weighs about 3,000 pounds, which means, I'm going to check the northern fire break. Maybe that jumped 3,000 pounds. Maybe an elephant weighs double that, a female elephant. A bull elephant weighs even more. So there's just really no chance from a weight perspective. Okay, we're going to go over to Brent while I see if I can make head or tail of these tracks. Let's go see what Brent Leo Smith has for you.
Hello, welcome back. So I heard a rumor that young Hosana was somewhere about Chitwa this morning. So none of the vehicles are out on drive yet. So I'm sort of just bumbling around, getting reacquainted, guessing where Hosana might be. We've checked the river system below the dam and the Mulwanini, and nothing there. So I'm going to head up towards the airstrip and then maybe jump back down into Mulwanini above the lodge, see if we have any luck up there. Now remember, there we go, first person's out on drive, so let me see if I can remember how to use a game drive vehicle. Afternoon, Brent from Wild Earth here. No updates just yet. Can you give me last position of Hosanna this morning, please? Okay. They're not sure. 1 second, guys. Standing by. Okay, so it doesn't sound like Hosanna wasn't found. Okay, and Tingana was in Chitwa camp the whole of last night. Copy, thanks. I checked the Mulwanini below the dam. No sign of any tracks. I'm going to go check Mulwanini above towards Torchwood side. Okay. No, there we go. Sorry, I'm just going to ask next, can you send that name through again? It sounds like we have a new viewer or a name that is not commonly heard. Woof! Magic Dragon Wizard. Well, hopefully you can magic us a leopard instead of a dragon this afternoon. So maybe your question is going to bring us excellent luck. Now, Magic Dragon Wizard would like to know if I ever walked up on a cat that I didn't know was there before. I have, quite a few times. I think one of the funniest ones that ever happened was quite a long time ago, when I was still guiding guests at a place about 70 kilometers to the east of here, inside the Kruger National Park. We were tracking a male leopard, and my tracker, who's I still think is the best tracker in the Lowvelds, his name's Glass Maramani, and we stopped on a bridge on the Wanetsi River, and I was busy getting my rifle out of its bag so we could go walking, and Glass jumped off the tracker seat, and literally half a meter from him was this young male leopard, and he charged. And Glass being a Glass, he just started laughing. But yeah, that was quite a funny one. A Karula's done it to me before. I've jumped out of a car I think it was to change a tire, and I noticed Karula, the female leopard, Tandy's mom, for those of you who don't know, she was watching me while I jumped out of the car to change the tire. I think that happens from time to time. With lions, when it happens, they normally go "Boo," and then they run away. But that's what normally happens with the lions. But it does happen from time to time, and as long as you stay calm, it's all good. Woof! It is warm today. Quite a nice change from the Mara, where it's always pretty chilly in comparison. Yes, Dawn, and I'm sure most of you have noticed that I no longer sprout a large mane. Being in the Lowvelds where it's hot, I decided it was time for a haircut. Yeah, so that long hair kept me nice and insulated on those long cold nights out in the Mara, but here in the heat of the Lowveld, I thought it was time for a bit of a change. Now, Jamie thought it was quite funny because I did it as a surprise. Jamie didn't know I was going to cut my hair. And then on one of our staff groups, she put up a picture of my new haircut, and you can imagine one of the first people to comment was the Saki James Henry, who said, "Who is that person?" And Jamie's response was, "I don't know, he keeps following me around the house." As James will notice, this is just for James. So James, I cut off 80% of my hair, and there's still a lot more than you will ever have. There we go. Okay, Chitwa airstrip. Now, always good to check the big marulas here. The leopards often like to lounge in them, especially on a hot day like this. But speaking of leopards, while I still search for one, let's go across to Scott, who's found one.
Yes, we have, but something has found us. It's just jumped onto the dashboard, and it's quite an interesting specimen. So, check this out. Nice dance moves. Oh, funny. Oh, yeah. Shake it. I almost want to play some music for it and see what it does when it's actually got music to dance with. Now, it's dancing like that to try and kind of not be detected by birds, and they'll kind of move like that because it's almost like a kind of a leaf or a blade of grass blowing in the wind. Chameleons move in a very similar fashion. It's not like a regular movement, which will help it if it was kind of inching forward, which it's not at the moment. Oh! Here it is, Sens. I think it's on my neck. Is it there? I think it landed on me.
If you can roll the side. Yeah, there you go.
Ah, well done, Sens. So it just launched itself onto me.
That's because it's too close.
I'm too close to focus. Maybe if I just turn around. Oh, there we go. That's better. There he is. So he was kind of preparing for a pounce. And let's see what his next move does. He went flying so quickly. I'm sure a lot of you didn't expect him to shoot out of screen as fast as he did. There we go. I'm a bit too close to Senzo to focus, but now I'm in a better spot. Laurie, you said this is a reggae bug, and such cool colorations, and I love the way it holds its back legs out, kind of like wings to the side. They don't fold up. Oh, jeez, that would have been cool to watch in slow-mo, but sadly our slow-mo machine in the final control room is bust at the moment, so we won't be able to do a slow-mo for you. But that was fun. Okay, we've lost focus though completely. There's a leopard lying in the grass not too far away from us, so let's show you that. Now, she was initially lying up a bit closer to the kill, but then she got up and went and positioned herself in the shade over there. She did call out to the cub once or twice. Ooh. Ooh. A vocalization kind of similar to that noise I just attempted to make. But we've had no sign of it yet, and who knows, maybe when that Inyala came onto the scene barking a little bit earlier, she gave the command to the cub to flee, just in case, just a possibility. And we're just going to have to put on our patient pants and get comfortable here and wait for her to decide when she would like to have another snack. This morning there was about half of the kill remaining. I haven't had time to go, well, I have had time, I just haven't wanted to disturb Tandy too much, so I haven't had a look at the kill just yet and how much remains. But there's some good news, and that is that Steve has got lucky. I wonder who helped him find the lions.
Thank you, Scotty. Fantastic that you've managed to find Tandy again. Much easier when they've got a kill, that they don't move around, and elephants don't chase them to the other side of the river. No one helped me, Scotty. I found them on my own. Craig did spot them as we were coming in. I tracked them to not too far from here, and then I just had that tingly feeling in my tummy that said, let's go back and get the car. And we did, and here they are, lying up in the shade. Not too far, probably about 250 meters or so from where they were. So a little bit further than expected that they moved. But it's obvious that the elephants gave them a bit of a run around. And instead of sticking around too close, they decided to move off. Because big elephants are very easily able to squash a lion. And it's always fun watching lions be chased by elephants. The king of the jungle, pushed away and made to look like a weeping child. It's really quite something to see. I know Scott saw some of that before the TV show with the mating pair, Amber Eyes and her lover, her consort of the day. I forget which one it was. And they were right here at Buffelshoek Dam, and the lions were chased away by the elephant, and the lions are almost more interested than afraid. They know they're not going to win, but they're still looking very keenly for any sort of opening when they see a breeding herd. Maybe they instinctively know that sometimes they can actually pull those youngsters down when the adults are not watching. And the youngster we saw this morning, I remember if any of you were watching, it was tiny, and a pride like this would do very well on an animal like that if they could get it away from the mother. But she was a very big cow, and I don't know if she would tolerate any of the Nkuhumas' attention on her little baby. Fantastic. The wind has picked up a little bit. There's a nice breeze coming in from where is that coming in from? The east, it feels like, which is not where our rain comes from. There seems to be some cloud build-up coming up from the west, but not too much in the way of rain or coolness this afternoon, as one lion moves off to join another in a shady spot, which is obviously better than this one, hence it wouldn't move. Hence it would move, yep. Fantastic. So we're going to stay here for a little while longer, see what these lions get up to. We might move off shortly in search of something spectacular, but in the meanwhile, let's go to Brent with some elephant activity.
There we go. We are in the Mulwanini River, and I just spotted a spot where some fussy elephants have been. So, of course, we're very close to the Chitwa Dam, but some elephants really like clean water, and they won't drink out of dams, and will actually go find a spot where they can dig. And there's a bee. Oh, well, there we are. This is a bee going for the moisture there, so I'm going to have to be careful, because I'm feeling quite thirsty. It's quite hot. So when it's hot, one needs to cool down, and it'll be good to get my feet into a good low-fault riverbed again. It's been a while, well, in the Sabi sands. So now I want to be careful not to collapse what the elephants have done. So I'm going to just lie down, make sure the bee's gone. So the reason I'm lying down is so I don't collapse the sides too much. Let's get some water. Just want to dig it a little bit deeper. You can see how wet the soil is that's coming out. Now, when I was working in Tanzania, and we used to do anti-poaching and road building, this is how we got our drinking water. Every day we would dig in riverbeds like this, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, Seb, it's got a bit muddy while I've been digging. So I'm just going to do one more dig, and then what I'm actually going to do is go see if the leopards are snoozing up this riverbed somewhere. I mean, that's going to fall. And I'll come back, and that water should be nice and clear. But I don't want to drink it just yet. I just want to cool down a bit. You know, it's tough out here in the African bush. So there we go. Nice cool down with the breeze. And then when we come back a little bit later, that water should be nice and clean, and I should be able to drink it. And let's keep going. I should probably take the sand off me before I get back in the car and spread sand everywhere. Okay, there we go. Ears are in. Oh, it's very nice. Nicola Austin says I'm an idiot, but at least I'm a cool idiot at the moment. I'm not hot like everyone else. And of course I'm referring to both cool in the cool sense and cool as in the temperature. Now, hello Mina. Mina would like to know, how do I feel about being back at Djuma, and do I miss the Mara? I'm ecstatic to be back at Djuma, Mina. I do truly love the low veld of South Africa. It's a very, very special place, and I mean, so special the fact that, I mean, Jamie and I choose to make our home in this area. I do miss the Mara, of course, but I miss everywhere I be. I miss Tanzania, I miss Botswana, I miss Gabon, I miss Congo. So I'm quite lucky in the fact that I can move around to these different places and still do what I love every day. So it's very exciting to be back in the Sabi Sands and at Djuma and Chitwa. I still think the most excited person is my little brother, because he was already on the radio making noise at me earlier, the little rat bag. Hello! So yes, it's very exciting to be back, and I miss everywhere. But I did hear a squirrel alarming, although I'm not sure. I think it was more chattering than alarming. And Seb says that the squirrels have been lying to everyone recently, not being very reliable. But it's still worth going to have a look. I do think it sounded more like a squirrel conversation rather than an alarm call. But this is always a very productive area, both for Tingana, Hasana, and historically Tandy. This used to be the core of Tandy's territory. Tamba was born just here. Now, H. Macy is wondering what causes the water to become clear where I was digging. Well, basically, when I dig, it just disturbs it a little bit, and the water will become clear just as that dirt settles. So it's just from the digging. So here we go. So Tumba was born right here in the old pump house, apparently. So right here in this little section here. So this used to be the core area of Thandi's territory before her mom disappeared and she moved into the Mawati and onto Djuma. So there we go. So that's where Tumba was born. No sign of Hosana or Tumba just yet. But of course, at this time of the day, it is so hot. They could be very, very easily lying in one of these grass thickets, in the panicum thickets. And unless they lifted their head or shook a tail, it'd be very difficult to see. That's why listening to the animals around you is so important. Even a little bird going can tell you that there's a leopard about, and it's always worth investigating. Okay, so, well, it seems like I'm catless still, the only one, but I'm having fun exploring and seeing what's changed and what wasn't. But speaking of cats, let's go back to our beloved Nkuhumas.
Thank you, Brent. Yes, Brent, it does sound like you're loving being back in the Sabi Sands. It is such a different place compared to the Mara, and I know with your vast experience down here, there's all sorts of little stories and tales that the viewers, I'm sure, are really going to enjoy. And we are still with these adorable Nkuhumas, and they are doing what lions do at this time of day. They are nice and flat, and it is hot. So they are not going to be going anywhere. So I'm going to do this last little segment here with them and then maybe go off and find a few more interesting things. And then we can maybe come back here after dark. Rumpa, very good question. Climate change, has it had an impact on the weather systems? Well, I think so. In my personal experience, we're getting rain later in the season as opposed to earlier. And we're also getting out of season rain. So we're getting rain in June and July, which is not common in these areas. But I do speak from my own experience. I haven't looked at any databases to see these stats, but normally we get rain from about September, but October normally, and then all the way through to February, March. Now we're seeing the rain is only coming in late December, maybe even January, and then it's maybe lasting a bit longer, and then we're also getting out of season rain in our winter months, which is classic characteristic of savannas is a summer rainfall. So getting rain in the winter months is just not right. So temperatures also fluctuating, but I'd have to look at some more statistics. But through my own experience, I feel there has been a change, and it is going to get worse. So those of you out there who don't believe in climate change, I think it is important to pay attention to the drivers. And the thing that is most noticeable about climate change is the birds. Because what birds are doing is birds are respondent to temperature and food. And so when a bird is migrating, it leaves Europe because of the temperature, and then leaves South Africa because of the temperature. Now birds are leaving Europe later, and they're arriving in South Africa later, and they're also leaving South Africa later. So they're moving mainly because of temperature and then also food resource. So that is a very interesting aspect to look at for climate change, is birds and how they're moving. They're doing lots of work on that at the moment. It's quite a new science. So yeah, there were no carmines that I saw this year. The European bee-eaters are still here. A lot of the breeding migrants or the migrants from Europe are still here, but we'll see. We'll note when they leave, but there is a noticeable change in the dates that they're arriving and a dates when they're leaving Europe. So Europe is not as cold as it was, or getting colder later. So these are noticeable things that scientists are able to look at, and birds, because they can move. Obviously lions or trees and plants can't really move. The lions can move with response to the savanna biome itself, but they can't just pack up and leave and go to North Africa. That's quite a journey, but birds can. So it's something to watch, and let's have a look at the smallest member of the Nkuhuma pride playing with, who I think is Amber Eyes. This could end badly. She doesn't like little cubs. Winter Rain wants to know what colour lions' eyes are. Well, most of them are a bit of a golden colour, and in the name of Amber Eyes, she has got very amber coloured eyes. But they are a beautiful amber golden colour, majority. I never noticed the difference in lions' eyes until I came here and I was told of a lion by the name of Amber Eyes. So I'm not sure if they change between areas, if you get different coloured eyes all over the place. It's not something I've really noticed in my life, but very, very orangey golden colour. Beautiful, beautiful eyes. They stare right through your soul. In African tradition, to be a man is to be able to stand your ground eye to eye locked with the male lion. Jaden wants to know how other lions get accepted into pride. They don't actually, Jaden. The pride of lions consists of a female or females, a set of females with their offspring who are invariably females, and then obviously the grannies, and then the daughters grow up to become the adults. And I've never noticed or ever heard a story of a group of lions accepting another lioness from another pride. I know John Varty years ago tried to re-establish or try to reintroduce a lioness he'd rehabilitated, and I think it nearly died, or it actually got killed by the lions. I can't remember the end of that, but it was not successful. Males will come and go, and they need to prove themselves in the pride for the females to accept them from a mating point of view. But females, unless there's a story out there, I've never heard of a female lioness or other lionesses being accepted into the pride of other lionesses, because they are genetically the same and they live for each other. It's all about their genes going forward, and any other lioness is seen as severe competition and will be dispatched if necessary. Sounds quite violent. It is. It can be. Lions fighting can be one of the most dramatic things out in the African bush. So from our serene sighting of these beautiful large cats, let's go to Scotty D with one of the most beautiful animals on the property.
I couldn't agree more, Steve. This is certainly a very, very beautiful beast. Even though we can hardly see her, and she's just kind of lounging about in the shade. Senzo and I were just saying how nice it would be if we could offer to take off her fur coat for her on such a hot day. She could walk around in the nude. It would be far more comfortable. But, alas, we cannot do that. And it'd be really interesting to know how hot they're actually feeling. I can't even comprehend how hot she must be with that fur coat. Panting away, and on top of that she's got quite a full belly, which will be further making her a little bit more uncomfortable. Now, just like Steve, I was kind of contemplating leaving the sighting, but I think I'm actually going to sit tight. You know, we don't know when she might move again. We don't know what the cub might start doing, and if the cub might start getting a little bit active sooner than an adult ordinarily would on such a hot day. So we're probably just going to stay put for the time being. We are also quite close to Steve, and the Buffalo's Hook Dam. So if I did leave here, that's where I would go, but I'm guessing that's where Steve is going to go when he leaves the Lions, so I don't think it'll make too much sense. Kathy, you agree with me regarding poor old Thandi, and you can see she's panting very hard, trying to cool herself down. I wonder if she's not going to move. She's kind of just been looking like she's possibly thinking about it. She was also looking in the opposite direction quite a bit, so I'm wondering if that's not where the cub is nestled. Well, it seems like she's not quite content with her spot there. Leah, you've obviously just jumped on board and would like a quick update as to what food she managed to catch. And it was a baby Inyala. And as we came onto the scene this afternoon, we found them here this morning, and already half the kill had been eaten. But when we arrived here about half an hour ago, interestingly, it was quite a sad scene, but it was very interesting at the same time. And the mother Inyala had come back in search of a youngster, and she was actually kind of barking at the leopard, bah, bah, and just coming in and checking, hoping that maybe she would in fact get lucky, but alas, the damage has already been done. And It's a very small baby, so I'm guessing that they're going to finish the kill this evening, which means we'll have another treasure hunt on our hands tomorrow morning to try and work out where they have gone. We got very, very lucky finding them in the spot today, because it's incredibly thick where we are. So, lucky. I'm happy that we got lucky, because we haven't been spending as much time with this lady as we would like to have been. She's been doing a good job hiding from us. So happy that we've rectified that, and I'm hoping we're going to have a wonderful sighting of her and the cub this evening. Well, Leo, well, thanks for getting back to us so quickly and saying that you missed out on the sunrise safari. Well, if you guys ever do miss out on the sunset safari, of course, the sunrise safari, you can always just ask for a quick update as to what went on as soon as you jump on board. We'd be happy to let you guys know. Puma, you've also just jumped on board and thought that this could possibly be Tingana. No, it's one of his girlfriends, and Tingana was last seen yesterday evening with Taylor on the sunset safari, and it sounded like he ate a terrapin or a tortoise. He was crunching through something small, which is not the best sign that he's lowered his standards to such a level that he's willing to feed on those kinds of snacks. It does kind of emphasize the fact that he's not in the best shape and obviously battling to get a decent meal. And he is looking a little bit skinny, I'm told. I haven't seen him for quite a while. But again, nature can sometimes be harsh, and I guess he's slowly kind of deteriorating in strength and size. Very good. Well, we're going to stay put here and send you back to the very new made-over Leo Smith with his fancy short haircut.
Oh, welcome back. We found one of my most favorite creatures to spend time with. He's marching a little bit, so we're just going to try and get into a position to get him to pop out and say, "How's it going? Hello, big boy." Now, he looks a bit bigger than the little boy we were with earlier, even though his tusks aren't quite as long. Hello, big man. He's a monster. He's been having a nice mud bath somewhere. Oh, I do love big elephant bulls. Now he's on a mission. Big Ellie. Oh, so lovely. Now, when he gets a bit further away, I'll go put my foot in his track. So he's an adult bull, and probably over 30 years old, not too old yet. And he's decided he's going to Torchwood. And looks like he might be tracking a herd. Well, he's got his trunk down to the ground. Hello, James. James is wondering if I'm looking forward to doing bushwalks again. Indeed I am, James, very much so. Nice to get out on foot, go play with some butterflies, torture the cameraman, make them film butterflies and things like that. Okay, so yeah, you can see where he whoopsie, hold on. Oh, gotta get used to driving petrol cars again. Do you want the footprint in the shade or in the sun? In the sun. There we go. Okay, isn't that wonderful? Now, that's his back foot, which we're looking at now, which is a bit smaller than his front foot, and more narrow as well. But he disappeared off there. Now, he is properly big. So, I don't know about US shoe sizes, I'm afraid, but I am a UK 12. I don't know what that is in US shoe sizes, but there we go. So it is 1 2. And that is the smaller one of his 2 feet. The other one is not in a good spot there, but there we go. Massive, absolutely massive. And it is so nice. I think the thing I'm most excited about being back is this ability to get off the car when I want to and get my feet dirty. Which is quite nice after Kenya, where we're very much confined to the vehicles most of the time. But exciting to be able to, yes, so I'm very excited for bushwalk. And very, very excited to go see Herbie, of course. But okay, while we trundle on, I'm going to go see if my drinking water is ready. Let's go have a look at a gymnogene.
Yes, thanks very much, Brent. I know the feeling, being able to get out on foot. It's so freeing and rewarding. There we go. I don't know if you can see him. He's just jumped down. It's a juvenile gymnogene, and it is a nest raiding specialist. I'm just going to move back a little bit, Crago. See if we can get a view of this bird doing its thing. It's jumping around in the tree. There it is. It might come a little bit higher. There we go. Look how it's using its wings. If we can punch in on that, you'll see how it's using its wings sometimes to hold itself on the tree. And it's looking for holes, nest holes, woodpeckers, barbets. There he goes. See the typical flap, glide. He's not flapping now, but it's got a very characteristic flight pattern. Very characteristic. It's going from tree to tree, and they actually use that technique of flying quite low through the canopy to attract birds that will come and sort of dive bomb them and sort of give them a whole lot of a hard time. And then by doing that, then they know, ooh, hang on, this tree must have a nest. And then they go land in there. So very characteristic with that very thin, featherless leg. Here I've got a very nice selection of pictures on the dashboard. And here is the juvenile, bottom right. Here's no, that's on the left. Sorry, Crago, my index finger. Apologies, wrong finger. Here we have them on the bottom right there. You see how long those, sorry, let me just get the shadow. You see how long those legs are? Very narrow face. Beautiful, beautiful. There's a pale version of it. And then the juvenile on the left is dark. So it's between those two and the one on the right. Very long, thin legs, and you see how narrow their face is. And they've got a very characteristic flight, hence the name Harrier Hawk, because all Harriers have that flap glide sort of motion. But he jumped out of the tree there, or I say he, could be a she, jumped out of the tree there, glided a little bit, the legs came out a bit, so it probably went and landed on another tree almost immediately. So looking for some food, sticks its... Hello, starlings. They are very chirpy. Starlings are one of the birds that these birds would be attacking, because starlings live in nest cavities. You can actually see one. You got that one there, Crago, the Birchill starling. There we go. Very intelligent birds, starlings. I've actually done quite a bit of research with them on how birds can do something known as a search image. It's something that we develop out here as well as trackers. We're looking for something. That's why Herbie can track a leopard when he only sees 2 toes or a little scuff mark. He's not looking for the track. He's looking for signs of the track. And years ago, they did studies with starlings with a computer screen where if they touched something on the computer screen, they got a reward. So they tested different types of butterflies or moths. I think it was moths. And they chose one species of moth. And as the bird selected the moth on the screen, so it basically saw its coloration or its shape. They did one species a number of times. It got better and better and better and was able to get it 100% of the time and then get a reward. Then they did another species. It took a while for them to get used to that search image, and then they were able to eventually adapt and develop their ability to see it, and then they got the reward again and again. And then they alternated the 2 types of moth species, and the birds had no idea. They could not find them at all. So that is what we're talking about, search image. Animals will see something. They're looking for a shape. Lions and leopards, when they are hunting, they don't actually see an animal. They see sort of like a shape, and that's why Nyala and Kudu, with their breaking of the outline and their patterns, actually break that shape for the lion so that they don't see them. So search image, very, very important. And I'm sorry I jumped around a bit there, but from the gymnogene, it's the whole nester, the whole raiding specialist, to the starlings who are chirping here in the distance. They like to nest in holes and then search images. You know, Willow Wanderer, I don't know if the gymnogene does actually eat insects. It's possible. Let's have a quick look. 173. I'm sure the diet is quite varied, but they are regarded as a nest specialist. So let's have a look at the primary diet. Feeding, food, mainly small animals, frogs, insects, nestlings, bats, eggs, birds, and also some insects. So insects will form a small part of their diet, but I wouldn't say it would be a large portion. Quite a specialized feeder when it comes to nestlings. Do I have a worm on the back right of my neck? Apparently. Oh, hello. Hello. Talking about insects, I've got myself a little caterpillar. Let's leave him here. He was catching a little ride. Hello, buddy. Okay, well, let me go and put him on the tree where he belongs. He's not going to get enough food or be able to pupate on the back of my neck. Come here, little fella. Very good. There we go. And now he disappears. So the same story with search images is that caterpillar is very camouflaged on the branch, and so certain birds will have to develop an image to see exactly what they're looking for with regards to food. And the intelligent bird species like starlings are able to adapt that so that they get better and more success in their feeding. Okay, on we go. We've clearly left the lions, as you can see. Vulpine wolf girl, interesting question. You want to know if it's possible for juvenile birds to keep their juvenile feathers into their adult plumage. But it doesn't make sense. The whole object of these birds being out here would be to breed, and once they attain adult plumage, which can often also be a type of breeding plumage, will they then breed? Until they get breeding plumage, they will not be seen by a female or a male as a suitable mate. That is another reason why birds have juvenile plumage versus adult plumage, is to show breeding success or breeding readiness. So no, that would not work. But there are a lot of birds that are just fawn-colored and camouflaged from the beginning, and that never really changes. So generally with the raptors, they need to be successful. They need to get quite large, or not get quite large. They need to sort of learn how to hunt and forage so that they're able to breed successfully and to look after chicks successfully. So I hope that answers your question. But if they wanted to keep them, I suppose, but it's basically the feathers are brought on by hormones and cues in the environment which show that they're ready to breed or are mature enough. Okay, so let's go over to Scotty D, see if he's still with Tandy in this hot weather, because clearly we've left the lions.
Yes, here we are, still with poor old panting Tandy, and she's moved ever so slightly from her last spot. I think obviously the shady spot was shifting ever so slightly as the sun begins to lower in the western horizon. And still no sign of the cub, but I'm confident as things cool down a little bit later on, we are in a great position to hopefully get spoilt with an incredible sighting of the two of them. Daryl, you would like to know how long will Thandi sit there to digest his meal? Well, she's a lady, so it's her meal, and they usually don't hang around too long. Once the food is finished, they move off and digest it kind of elsewhere. But it can take about 3 days for a leopard to fully digest a full belly, if they've had a buffet, so to speak. It can set them up for quite easily the next few days. They definitely do not need to feed every single day. And yeah, I guess it just depends, Daryl. King Megara of the Sea. How lucky we are to have some royalty amongst us this afternoon, and thank you for spending your very precious time with us. you would like to know if leopards will ever swim to cool off. Not that I have ever seen. And I would ordinarily have said the same for lion, but interestingly there was a sighting, not with us personally, but with a guy that I know, of lions sleeping in a kind of puddle in a very hot day in the Masai Mara. There was no shade nearby, no trees, and I think they had a kill out in the open, so they plonked themselves into a mud wallow, kind of not usually dissimilar from how a hyena will very often act. But no, ordinarily the big cats of Africa, lion, leopard and cheetah, will avoid water at all costs. So unlike tigers, who are happy to lounge in water when it's hot, jaguars, I wonder if jaguars also, I haven't seen any footage of jaguars lounging in water, but they're certainly very, very comfortable in water. And I mean, I wonder if the lions in areas like the Okavango Delta of Botswana, there they become accustomed to swimming. They do a lot of swimming around, and even Nikki showed me a clip of a lioness carrying a tiny little cub in her mouth through the water. She was wading, I mean the water was coming up to her chest, and then another tiny little cub was swimming alongside her. I mean, so from a very young age those lions will be exposed to a lot of water, and possibly there they may be more likely to kind of seek refuge in it on a hot day. But again, I can't confirm that that is actually the case. Well, speaking of waterholes, let's see what Brent is up to at a waterhole somewhere nearby.
Well, as I said, we're going to come and check on my... Oh, no, I forgot something. So I'm going to multitask again. I'm going to get my buff for cooling. And the water's cleared up enough now that I don't want to disturb it again and get everything to fall in. So I'm going to get Sandy again. I should have brought enough water with me, shouldn't I? I did. So there we go. Nice clean water. Tastes a little bit muddy, but other than that, nice and cool. It's nice and cold, so good. And it's always a useful survival trick. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, worried that I'm going to get some form of disease from this water. Now, what I'm sitting through here is one of the best filters in the world. So the sand will actually filter out most nasties and a lot of the bacteria, because it's right down, deep down under the sand. So it's not surface water, so you're not going to get bilharzia or any of those funny things from it. But I'm going to wet this again to keep myself cool. There we go. You can see how much water's in there, actually. There we go. So nice, so pleasant. So we've had no luck around Chitwa with Hosana or Tingana yet. So I'm going to do one last loop, especially now that it's getting a bit cooler. If there are any leopards, they're likely to maybe think about getting moving at this time of the day. So fingers crossed. If not, I might take a trundle back towards Djuma. Scott said he had tracks of tumber heading towards the area around Galago Pan, so we can go have a look there as well. But it's just so nice to be back and exploring again, getting to know all the old haunts. Hello, Regina. Regina says, I love to be barefoot too, but is hookworm a problem for us out here? Not at all, actually, Regina. Hookworm is generally a problem where you've got high numbers of domesticated animals, and of course, not many of those around here. I actually don't think... I've never had hookworm, and I've been barefoot since about age, well, as young as I could walk on farms and in the bush. In Africa, so I've never had hookworm. While I was in Gabon, I encountered a very nasty creature called a sand flea or a jigger, and those are mostly in the villages around the coast. and were most common in areas where there were quite a lot of domestic dogs. But let's go quickly across back to Scott and Tandy, who sounds like she's on the move.
Yes, surprisingly, Thandi has just got up. She's about to poke her head out. She's moving from left to right, and I saw just her nose kind of peeking out behind that big branch, and she's also calling the cub. Now, I don't want to move the vehicle just yet. I just want to see if she doesn't continue into frame. She has been in a little bit of a bad mood today, so I'm going to just err on the side of caution. Where are you, Tandy? This long grass is making our lives quite interesting at the moment. Can't see her just yet. Let me see if I can't creep forward a meter or so and get a view, because I think she has stopped, so... Okay, well, no immediate sign over there. Let's just creep forward slowly and assess the situation. Oh, well, while we get into a good spot, we're going to send you across to Steve, who's found a bird.
Thank you very much. There it flies. Did you see it, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, it was way too fast. Maybe we'll get another look, but let's have a look. This is what we saw. For those of you who are keeping bird lists, if you saw it, feel free to tick it. The southern white-crowned shrike. It sounds like a squeaky toy. Let me show you some pictures. There they are. Nice cooperative breeder. Living in groups with an alpha male and female who'll do the breeding. And they are a shrike. I think they're the only species of shrike that I know of that behave like that, here in South Africa anyway. I was very fortunate to see the northern white-headed shrike when I was up there. It was marvelous. So let's have a little listen. Sounds like a dog playing with a squeaky toy. I know there's lots of pet lovers out there. Have a listen. That's it. Paula. Hello, Paula. I do have a favorite bird. I've got a couple favorite birds. And a lot of people are actually commenting Steve seems to have a lot of favorite things. But the green-winged Partilia would be my favorite. And my friend actually sent me a picture today. Let me show you. Let me show you. Because my friend actually said you'd like this. Let me show you the picture. And there is a picture of one. They were doing some ringing at the place I've just moved into. And they've got a couple pictures of these. Doing some bird ringing. And that is a beautiful Partilia. How beautiful is it? I think there's another one there. No, not that one. There's another one. Look at that. Let me just close off the writing underneath. Isn't that gorgeous? My favorite bird at the moment. And you see the little ring on the foot there? Lots of research is going into the movements of these animals and trying to figure out the age and where they occur. And saffering is quite an important thing when it comes to movement of birds. And like I mentioned earlier, with regards to the migration, a lot of that is going on. So we'll keep you posted on that. But let's go quickly over to Tandy and that little bundle of joy.
How cool is this? Our patience has paid off. And the cub has literally just come onto the scene and it's now getting pampered by mom. How cool is this? What an absolute treat. Who knows how long they've been apart for? I mean, they were definitely together this morning, but sometimes mothers will kind of banish their youngsters during the heat of the day when they just need some time to themselves. What could have been that the Impala came onto the scene? Oh, what does this cub want? Does it want some milk? Why is it getting impatient and restless there? Still very hot, everyone. Even though it's 5:20 in the afternoon, it is baking. So, to be honest, I'm actually quite surprised to see them getting active already. And it was only due to the fact that mom called the cub a number of times that the cub actually came out. Instead, it's still kind of half asleep. It can often be very, very playful, and I'm guessing it is going to become a lot more playful as the evening progresses. Sure, you're getting a proper clean here now. As we came onto the scene, it was difficult to have a good look, but it appears like the kill is in kind of two portions almost. We've seen a tiny bit of fur on one side of us and the majority of the carcass on the other side, but there definitely is still a little bit of meat that remains, so I'm sure they're going to chomp down on that a little bit later. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Okay, well, because this is such a wonderful moment, we are thinking of possibly inviting on some other viewers. You can see we parked in the bushes here. Well, she's just repositioning herself, so let's see what she gets up to, and we will definitely at some stage this afternoon invite on some extra viewers. Hello, you little cutie. But I would like to just see what Mom does beforehand, rather than getting into a spot where we can't see her as we welcome on board everyone. Hello, Alan. You'd like to know how old is this little cub now? We're not sure of the exact day that it was born. Sometimes the guides do get lucky enough to know information as precise as that. And I think, I stand to be corrected, but I think the kind of guesstimate period is around the 10th of November. Possibly a little bit before that, which means it's just over 4 months old now. I'm going to have to move forward ever so slightly because now they're both in a spot where we can't see them. Right behind that bush. I'm just going to pass that up to Senzo. That should do. Jaden, you'd like to know if it's relaxing out here for us and the animals. And yes, I mean, I speak for myself. It's certainly very relaxing for me, and it seems like the animals are also at peace with their home and the fact that we are here enjoying being spectators. Having said that, though, it seems like she's in a bit of a bad mood today, the mother, so she gives us the odd snarl, but it's not hugely uncommon for certain leopards to just be a little bit moody. It never really surmounts to anything. If they get angry enough, they will kind of often charge the vehicle, and at that point in time, we will move off and give them the space that they require. Now, it sounds like the cub has come to investigate what's going on with the remains of the kill. Oh, yeah, it's got it. You can see, not very well, though, that it's got a portion of the baby Inyala that it's trying to snack on. You would have just seen one of the Inyala's limbs there. There you are, you little cutie. And often what young leopards will do is they'll play with their food, no different to young humans, I guess, and kind of practice attacking it and wrestling it and biting it on the throats. Oh, you can keep an eye on us. We're keeping an eye on you, you little cutie. Veronica, you would like to know where will Thandi hide her cub when she goes off hunting? From this age, just about anywhere she can stash the cub. It doesn't necessarily need to be in a burrow or a cave or a cavity in a tree. The cubs from this age are capable of climbing into trees, so it can just be left in a thicket, so to speak. It could be left in an area just like where we are now. Lots of bush, lots of long grass, little trees that it can climb up if it needs to escape hyena. This is the first time I've ever seen it chewing on meat, guys. Now, even though it has... Oh, that's a nice big mouthful. You're going to grow up to be a monster if you keep eating like this. And it has been seen feasting on meat, I mean, as far back as a month ago, possibly even slightly longer. But this is my first sighting, and aren't we so lucky that we can snipe a little gap straight through all these bushes as we see it doing so, keeping a beady eye on us as it does. And it's very important that we do spend time with the young animals here and make them realize that we as humans are not a threat to them, and that all we want to do is spectate, because that allows us this incredible insight into their lives. Leopards are ordinarily very, very shy and nervous, and they'll often shy away from humans unless they are habituated. Super Mike or Super Bike, I'm not too sure, but you know who you are. You would like Super Bike. You would like to know if we know who this cub's father is, and we don't know for 100%, but we believe strongly that it's a male leopard called Tingana. He's sadly kind of on the way out. It appears he's getting quite old, and there's a new young male that arrived on the scene in December that seems to be pushing him out of his territory. And the fact that this new male is coming onto the old male's territory is a huge, huge threat to this little cub that we're looking at now, because leopards will kill cubs that they did not father, because it of course will release the mother of the responsibility of raising the cub. And in this case, she would be raising it for at least another year before she could mate again. So rather than waiting all that time, they just kill the cub and then they can mate within a few weeks. The female cats, or especially the leopards, will come into season very quickly after losing cubs. And the reason why we're not 100% sure that it is Tingana is what leopardess will often do is mate with multiple males. So rather than just mating with one male, if they mate with a few of the dominant males of the general area, that means that any of them kind of come across her and their cub, it means that they will all believe that they are the father. So on a number of occasions we've had the same leopard mating with 2 or 3 males, not necessarily that we've seen, but that we've got reports of. Okay, well, we're going to stay put where we are, and what a magical scene it is. I can't see where Mom has gone, so she may also be heading closer towards the kill for a snack. We'll be sure to keep you updated and send you back over to Brent for an update on his adventures.
Well, we've decided to come back onto Djuma, and I'm going to just sort of do a reacquaintance, a sort of a bumble through Shadow's territory towards the western sections, around Impala Road, and then maybe back down towards Sydney's Waterhole. There were some wild dog tracks around there yesterday, and of course with dogs that means they could be very far gone by now, but I was actually in the Manuletti a couple of weeks ago, and there's not much other water. So if the dogs are around, they might definitely come back towards Sydney's. So good time of the day to check around there. Also be nice to catch up with Shadow. And then if we have no luck with either of those plans, we'll go look around Galago, Pan, Fort Tumba. So there we go. Lovely and warm. It's starting to cool down a little bit. Been really hot today, so if the dogs are around, this is sort of the time of day they're really going to start their greeting ceremonies, start doing that wonderful excited giggles and get on the move. I would very much like to see dogs. I haven't seen dogs since April last year. That's a long time for me to go without wild dogs. Hello Ella, who's only 9, or really who's 9 years old. Ella wants to know, do we have butterflies? We do, Ella. but at the moment it's still a little bit, it's been a bit hot this afternoon for the butterflies, so you're going to have to keep watching. I love butterflies. I'll see if I can find you some. I'll keep my eye open. We've got some very pretty butterflies here, and there are lots of different species. We've probably got close on 60 to 70 species alone in this area, so I will keep a lookout for butterflies. An interesting question from John. What would you rather be attacked by? Wild dogs or lions? I would definitely go with wild dogs because they don't really attack humans. I definitely would not like to be attacked by lions. That's one way to sort of move on to the next pasture. So definitely wild dogs would be my first choice. Now, I've had some incredible sightings with wild dogs on foot. They are my favorite animal by a long way. I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but for me, the African wild dog is by far my favorite. And I've had such amazing times with them on foot and in the vehicles. But I think one of my favorite times was in northern Botswana, and we had a big pack of wild dogs, about 30 or so, and they were all around, running up and down the road, doing their greeting. And I was on foot, so I lay down in the road, and 3 or 4 of them came right up to me, so much so that they actually misted up my camera lens trying to smell my camera. So that was a wonderful sighting with wild dogs on foot. And of course, James had an incredible sighting of wild dogs on foot just near the DRC, near camp. We were on tracking team. Jamie and I were in the Mahindra, and Scott was behind the wild dogs in one of the vehicles, and James was on bushwalk, and he sat down next to the road, and the dogs came within a meter of him. Now that was a long time ago, more than 2 years ago. Can you believe it? Yeah, there we go. Nicola is telling me she was directing that show. Well, it's amazing. So the last time I had, well, apart from the Mara, but I mean, 2 years ago, it was James, Scott, Jamie, myself, Nikki, Kirsten, Lou, Andrew, Brian. Yeah, so everything goes in waves, but it's nice to be with the same crew mostly a couple of years down the line, and we haven't tried to murder each other yet. Sometimes we have some tense words, but yes, but there has been no homicide yet. Well, Nem UK is wondering, am I happy to be back behind the wheel of a Land Rover? Well, I was behind the wheel of a Land Rover yesterday with my parents. We actually had a wonderful game drive on the reserve. We saw cheetah and went to a hyena den. But yes, so that was good. And then obviously it was only about 5 weeks ago I was driving Land Rovers in the Mara. The one thing I am quite happy about is having a Land Rover without a door, but I'm not going to pull a Tristan. I can't wait to get Tristan back so I can give him proper gears about that. He is the only guide I've ever heard of in, 17 years of working as a guide professionally who's fallen out of a vehicle without a door. It's quite special. Oh, hello, little red-backed Shrike. Oh, where's he gone? Is he taken off? He's gone. Nikki's just told me that she said you should try to direct that show. She couldn't direct for half an hour. She was laughing so much. Yes, it was absolutely beautiful. Kylie is wondering, are wild dogs and painted dogs or painted wolves the same thing? Yes. So the correct name is the African wild dog. They are sometimes referred to as painted dogs or painted wolves. The original name from way back when was the Cape hunting dog. So yes, so they're all the same, and their scientific name is very pretty. It's Lichen pictus, which basically means painted or drawn on wolf. Yes, licon in French. Am I correct, Sebastian? Licon. Licon. And I actually have guided quite a few French safaris, and with quite an incredible photographer named Chris Courtier, and he gets very licon, licon, licon. Now, I'd never forget that one, but it sounds like we've got a pretty bird with Steve.
Thank you, Brett. We found an apple just in time for its cameo performance. Sorry about it.
Well, sorry you were rushed abruptly from Steve to us. Obviously there was a small dip in his signal. We've stayed put. We can't really move anywhere to get a better view of this cub, but when she does put her head in the right spot, I think it is quite a good spot to be in. Still just chomping away, and still no further sign of Mom, so Mom's obviously letting her bubba just enjoy the snacks for now. I'm sure once the cub's eaten its full, Mom's going to come in and hoover up the rest. The mom will be able to consume the entirety of this carcass, probably including the skull and the hooves, all of the leg bones. It's a very young calf, but this young cub won't be able to process that, so she's letting the youngster take all the easier bits. So I heard you guys are having an interesting discussion with Brent about what he would prefer to be attacked by, wild dogs or lions. I've been wondering, if wild dogs did attack humans, which Brent says they didn't, which I would prefer. There'd have to be some more specifics here. How many would you be up against? Because you can put up a fight, even against a lion. There's a guy, I think Steve was telling the story, called Harry Wallater, an old warden of the Kruger National Park. Oh, we need to rush you off to a cute baby elephant with Steve.
Sorry about the gremlins, folks. We have found the baby again, and it's sticking its entire face in the water to drink because it doesn't know how to use its trunk. You just missed it doing 2 head dunks into the water because Mum is using her trunk, and the baby doesn't know how to use the trunk yet, so it sticks its whole face in the water, but it can't judge it very well, so the eyes go underwater as well. It's absolutely marvelous. I saw this lady last night with her baby, again this morning, and now again. So, you see, because the baby is quite small, Mom can't go very far at all. So she basically was at Buffelshoek Dam last night, and then she's been probably meandering from Pan to Puddle all the way down. We are now at Twin Dams, which is on the southern boundary from where we are, and she can only move as fast as the baby can go. And that's probably why we don't see the rest of the herd with her. You see that baby's legs are still really struggling to walk. Okay, I've got 4 legs now. Let's go left, right. Oh, now I've got back ones as well. Oh, hang on. There we go, left. Oh, left again, right. Oh, my word. I've got 4 feet. What is this thing hanging from my face as well? I've seen a baby stand in its trunk before, and it got quite startled. It didn't quite know what to do. Oh, there it's doing it. What is this thing? Oh, it's a little bit muddy there. Are you going to go back in the water, little one? Are you going to go back in the water? Isn't that just precious? It is so precious. Is a very big mother, that. A very big elephant cow. I'm sure she's had many babies in her life. She's very relaxed. You can see the streamers on the side of her head. That's just got to do with probably some heat stress, to do with the fact that she's having to feed quite heavily to provide enough milk for this very newborn baby, who is more interested in its trunk than anything else. Slowly it will figure out how to work those legs at the same time. There we go, Mama. Oh, hello. Back into the water. Oh, little unsteady. Carla B and everyone else there, I don't think this baby's more than a few days, if a week, not even. It's brand spanking. I mean, you could just tell by the legs. The legs, it has no idea how to use its legs. Well, it's quite good at lowering its face into the water. You can just see the common sandpiper in the front of the screen there, bobbling its little bottom. Quite a nice two-shot of the sandpiper with the cutest animal just behind it. CNAC wants to know if baby elephants are vulnerable. Sometimes they can be. They can be. Like this elephant cow on her own with this youngster could potentially be in trouble against something like the Nkuhumas. If they happen to separate that calf from mum, they could potentially deal it a fatal blow. But she would be very aggressive towards them. I mean, she was there last night and they were in the area. And maybe that's why she's moved as far south as she has. Scuba Ellie. So yes, it could potentially be at risk to large predators. That's why elephants in a herd are much safer, because if the cow chases off lions this way, any lions approaching from the other side would be able to tackle the baby. I have seen it before, but I have also seen the elephants always successfully chasing the lions away. She is a big female. She would not tolerate the presence of lions, but because she's on her own, there could be a little bit of risk there, because it wouldn't take too long if the lions pulled that baby down to deal a very bad injury to it, that even if mom chased them off, the baby might not be able to get back up from. Because very unsteady on the legs. It's unsteady on the boulders there. It's actually quite flat. But there's a few little divots in the ground from mud where animals have walked when the dam was a little bit fuller. See how mum has her toilet and then just waits? She's very casual with this youngster. She knows the youngster can only walk so fast, so she's got to take her time. Avon sorry, everyone wishes that we lost us there. We're having a few technical issues. We're going to move around to see if we can